Alright, let's give Pete a call. Yo, brother.
What up, Dirty?
What's happening?
Can you hear me okay?
I can. I'm turning my video on.
I got the tangled phones right now. I'm trying to untangle them.
Do your thing, my friend.
So what's up, man?
Nada. Just, I can't lie to you. I'm feeling extra sore today.
Uh-oh, what'd you do?
I did kickboxing and jiu-jitsu class yesterday. Usually I can handle one class a day. But,
Can you see me, or is this just audio we're doing?
I can't see you yet.
Okay.
And my video is just doing the spinny thing for some reason.
Nice.
Let's see if we can work things out here.
So you do like karate or jujitsu? Jujitsu, do you say?
Yeah, jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. Although lately I'm not enjoying kickboxing that much because I keep getting punched in the head. And I don't really like it. Punched in the head. I don't know why my video isn't working. Let me can I try calling you right back?
Yeah, no worries, brother.
Alright, maybe it'll work that way.
Later.
Uh-oh. Now he's not answering. That's not good.
Gio.
Yeah, buddy. All right, let's see if we can get your video going. There's you. I see you.
Gio.
So
I'm all sweaty, man. I've been painting all morning. It's freaking like I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, it's summer in St. Louis. So.
Did you get hit with that storm that's causing all the flooding in Mississippi? Where the fuck is it flooding at?
Right now, it's down in It's in Memphis, which is probably 5 hours south of St. Louis. But we got hit with the tornadoes about 2 weeks ago. Hit like our airport and like devastation, man. Like the whole airport was just shut down, and it hit the hood like straight up like. North St. Louis, like the straight up hood got hit by a tornado. Like that never happens. I'm kind of near down, like closer to downtown, and like that was cool. But yeah, like north side got hit hard, man.
That's gnarly. Yeah, all that stuff is fucking intense. And you know what's weird is that we didn't hear that much about it on the interwebs. You know, people on Facebook. Everybody's super compassionate about things that happen in foreign countries for some reason. Mm-hmm. And then when something really devastating happens, even in our own country, we sort of lose track of it, unless it's in the news every day.
Because the taxpayers pay, we take care of it here, I guess. I don't know, man. You're right, man. Like, you get a tsunami somewhere, it's like, ooh! But,
yeah, and not to downplay those things, but it's like, there's a weird disconnect there.
Totally, man. It's crazy. Yeah, you're right. That is weird.
Well, I apologize for my camera being an asshole.
Oh, no worries.
You can't see me. I've been using the new Ustream here trying to get this thing all organized.
Mm.
And sometimes all the programs running at the same time just don't work together, I guess.
Mm. Well, I got an ugly mug, so I don't know if you want me to turn mine off, or is it even worth doing the video, or?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Because I do both. I do the video for just the interwebs, and then I do all the audio for the iTunes and for the podcast and stuff. So, thanks for doing the show, my friend. I appreciate it.
Yeah, most def, man. Sorry it took a while to get together, but you know how that goes, brother.
No, yeah, totally. We are all. It's a good thing that we're all super busy.
If we're slow twiddling thumbs, man, that's a bad sign for sure.
Yeah, I think if you're an artist, you probably don't have time to twiddle your thumbs unless you're thinking about something and you're doing it on purpose, which is part of the appeal of being an artist. You can't do that.
That's what's up. It's a nonstop hustle, man. The second you stop hustling, man, it doesn't happen for you, you know.
Well, you're episode number 50. We're in the 50s now.
50, son. Yeah.
And we've been virtual friends for quite some time. I guess over 10 years at least.
I mean, since you were Sal Paradise, I don't know if you want me to mention that or not, but man, I remember that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. Who's that? Sal Paradise.
That's my.
But yeah, man, it's crazy, and that's what's so dope about the interwebs is that I think many artists have been able to develop like crazy relationships all over the globe, man. It's like such a cool time to be an artist, you know. I mean, I'm in St. Louis, and St. Louis isn't the biggest art hub in the world, but man, like I got one of the fattest studios, and I own my house, and like, you know, I live well, and I'm about 3 hours from anywhere. 2 hours to San Francisco, you know, 2 hours to New York, 3 hours to Miami, you know, San Diego's 3.5 hours or whatever. But yeah, man, it's crazy, dude, how like, you know, I feel like I've known you, but we've never actually met in the flesh, which is wild and crazy, man.
Yeah, this is actually the first time we've spoke actual words that aren't digitized.
Maybe you're right, dude. I think you're right. I don't even think we've talked on the phone or any of that. Yeah.
No, it's all been binary code.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Ones and
it
zeros.
kind of is this way in a way too. You know, it's just transmitted.
Yeah, totally. With it is the future though. It's super crazy.
Rad, so rad, dude. And like it's so cool to be at the birth of it. You know.
Yeah, for sure. And I also I talk about this a lot on the podcast, but I appreciate the fact that I also got to spend some time without the internet, but still doing the same thing.
Did you really?
Yeah.
See, because when I got into it, it was around 2000, 2001, and it was full force, man.
Yeah, but, you know, even then, that was still just, like, the beginning in terms of, like, an artistic culture. But I've talked about it, too. Like, it's funny how it was graffiti artists who were the first ones that started really using the internet. Like, using it as a venue, the same way that they would utilize the streets. It was just another
like Trayvon's Profits was the first one for sure, man. Like when that thing popped up, dude, it was crazy.
And Art Crimes.
And Art Crimes too, man. I forgot. That's right. That's right.
Art Crimes was the OG. And it's so funny. I went and looked at the website again just recently to go look at it, and it looks exactly the same as it did in like '97 or whatever.
Oh, that's sick. That's rad, man.
And I found out about a lot of different artists via that avenue.
Well, like for me too, like I'm a stencil guy. If whoever's listening doesn't know, I don't want to call myself a stencil guy, but you know, the way I reproduce my art is through stencils. And I was fortunate enough, like, you know, my background, I did commercial art in Chicago for years, doing like stuff in Illustrator and Photoshop and hand drawing stuff, scanning stuff in. But it was all commercially driven and did a little graffiti stuff. But really, like, I did a lot of illustrative work in Illustrator. I mean, I've been using Illustrator since, you know, 1989. I mean, it's forever, you know. And to me, when I wanted to kind of switch to doing some stuff on the street, more illustrative, I was kind of like, I looked to silk screening, maybe wheat pasting, but then, I saw stencils. And right around the time I started stenciling, Stencil Revolution popped up. And I don't know if you're familiar with Stencil Revolution, but do you know anything about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that came out like in 01, 02, and I think I was like maybe the 20th dude up on Stencil Rev, and man, it was crazy because like all of a sudden I found this new art form of stenciling for me, and you know I was able to do a piece and put it on the web, and like 5 dudes from Melbourne, Australia would look at it, or like you know a couple people from you know all over the globe. All of a sudden, I mean this was pre Flickr, Facebook, any of that stuff, you know, and you know. I really thought, especially for me, like that's the Stencil Revolution was just like the springboard for me for sure, getting my stuff out there, you know. And it was crazy because that was 2002, you know, like I don't know, you know, you could actually put a photo up and people could comment on it. Like how crazy is that, you know?
Yeah, all that stuff was ahead of its time. Fecal Face was another one of those websites that had stuff available to show your stuff and get back and forth commentary about it, you know.
Yeah, that's craziness, man.
When
did Fecal Face start out?
I think around 2000.
Okay.
Right around that same time. There was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of cool stuff happening right at that pinnacle.
It was a lot of cool grassroots type stuff. I mean, even like Wooster Collective came out right around then too, and like I remember sending them some of my stuff early back in the day, and they'd put it up on their site, and it was like, yeah, man, it was like, and people would go to those sites daily because there was nothing else,
Yeah, for sure. I know I did. There again, it was one of those things. It was few avenues, but now everybody has a Facebook, everybody has a Twitter for the most part, and any person can have their own website. I just saw a news article yesterday that WordPress hit 20 billion blogs. 20 billion.
That's ridiculous, man.
So all these people are getting their opinions out to whoever has an opportunity to see it, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah, and I almost feel like, I also do web design and websites and that type of thing too to help pay the bills. I think we all kind of have to have our little secondary thing that brings money in as an artist, and like
robbing people.
What's that?
Like robbing people.
Well, I know that's what
I'm getting ready. My plan is to start robbing all the people who aren't buying my artwork.
Man, that's genius.
If you buy my paintings, you don't get robbed.
I'll rob you, so you might as well just buy it anyway.
If you could, and save yourself money in the long run.
Really, dude, that's the realness right there. That's the realness right there.
It's getting down to it with the way this sort of economic, social empire that we have. That is, you could see it just crumbling at the foundations.
It's I don't know though, man. I kind of feel lately, like I kind of gauge it on Art Basel. I've been going to the Art Basel for the past 4 years, and 4 years ago Art Basel was awesome. And then the year after that, it got, for me, it just started kind of going downhill. And then this year was I felt like the first year kind of seeing things kind of popping again. Like people kind of spending money and I don't know, like I feel like it's kind of getting better, don't you? A little bit.
It's hard to say. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't, in the long run, it doesn't really matter. Because I'm going to keep doing the work regardless of whether somebody buys it. If it stacks up somewhere or it goes into collectors' homes, it's still going to be made. So in the long run, it doesn't really matter.
It's in your soul, man. You can't just stop doing it.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned being a stencil guy. I just used air quotes, but nobody can see me.
Stencil dude. Yeah.
What got you into cutting stencils and doing stencils? Were you doing any spray paint work or things ahead of that?
Yeah, I definitely have been playing with spray paint my whole life. Either just doing little throws, nothing serious. I wrote PEAT for a while. That's how I spell my name, and I didn't really get too crazy with that world. A lot of my boys, they did like the Paint Louis thing. I don't know if you guys remember Paint Louis. Was a big event here that happened in St. Louis for years. But I don't know, really had some interest in that. But then finally kind of was like, I guess is what I did commercial art for about 5-10 years up in Chicago, and the last bit I did was some really cool stuff for like Camel cigarettes and Coca-Cola, and kind of doing some like urban kind of, my markets were for Coca-Cola were in New York and LA and kind of the boroughs, like real kind of like grungy stuff, but I do these dope illustrations in Illustrator mostly, and I'd never get credit for it. I'd always just be like, this is what our team produced for the Coca-Cola campaign. And, you know how it is as an artist. You put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into what you do. And it was just like, my creative director was constantly being like, look what we did. And I'm like, dude, you didn't do anything. This was me. And it was like, I got to a point, we actually, my gal and I, we had our first kid up in Chicago right around 2001. And I was just like, it was a real pinnacle time in my life. I was just like, what am I going to do, man? I'm a dad. I really need to kind of like, I don't want to do commercial art the rest of my life. Like, so we pretty much just packed up our things and I applied for jobs all over. And my wife's parents actually live kind of in the suburbs of St. Louis in Kirkwood. And we were like, it'd be easier to move back there. They'd be able to help us out with stuff. So we moved back to St. Louis, and I just left that whole commercial art world behind. And so right around then, I was like, kind of like, well, I still like to do my drawings and illustrations, but, I'm not going to spend 40 hours in Illustrator and then just print out something, do a G-Clay or whatever they call them. And I was just like, that to me is just, I know there's a lot of artists that do that, but just for me, I want to get some paint. I want to be able to put on the street too. So you know, it's very cliche, but right around that time, I started seeing works by like Logan Hicks and Shepard Fairey a little bit. I think Tristan Manco just brought out his like stencil graffiti book. It was like the first kind of stencil book, and then obviously Banksy. Saw Banksy stuff, and you know, I think a lot of artists, especially even this whole stencil movement, has been inspired by Banksy. And getting back to even like Stencil Revolution, like that whole thing kind of started, I believe, because Banksy went to Melbourne, Australia back in like 2000, 2001 and just hit up everything. And I think that inspired a bunch of kids there to start stenciling, and those guys started up stencilrevolution.com. And so it was like kind of like this whole big movement or something in the water of just stencil art. And I was just like, wow. So I like even more like looking at people like Logan Hicks. Like Logan Hicks was the dude that I saw doing, you know, more than just one layer stuff. Like at that time, Banks was just doing a black and white rat and a couple little things, but they were still cool and smart. But the guy who was really inspiring to me was Logan Hicks. And I was just like, wow, that's crazy. So I could maybe take multiple layers, kind of like silk screening, and create these stencils. And that was really the big birth of it for me. And ever since then, it's been kind of like, you know, obviously trying to kind of grow that whole world, but it's been great, man. I love it.
Nice. Yeah, I've known Logan for a long ass time too. Because
that's what I was saying. Yeah, I was talking to him the other day, and he said he knew you from San Diego days or something.
Yeah, way back in the day when he left Baltimore and came to San Diego. He was doing his workhorse thing.
Fully, like his print collective, and
yeah,
and he was doing Well, I don't know if I should say it, but he was doing I guess by now he doesn't really care, but doing like rollers and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, we were doing. He and I did a few even like poster jobs where we went and did like put up posters for companies.
Well, you were working for, or you were interning for Shepard then or something, weren't you?
Well, I was Shepard Fairey's assistant for 2 years.
Yeah, dope.
So I learned that was like my art school. That was like that thing was like, holy shit, look at all these people doing this thing.
Yeah,
I could do this too, no problem.
And I think that's how most artists learn, man. I mean, I know I didn't go to art school, you know, either, and it's like, I think that school of hard knocks, especially for our movement of art, is really, I mean, you can't learn that in school, you know.
Yeah, it's like you just have to. I talk to like young inspired artists or aspiring artists.
Yeah, yeah.
I always say, like, find somebody who's, and you know, like self-help gurus like Tony Robbins and shit always say, they say, find somebody who's doing the thing that you want to do, and like be friends with them, talk with them, shoot the shit with them, see what the fuck they're doing, and figure out what it is that they're doing, and relate it to your life, and learn from it. And I think that's what I did, sort of accidentally, because when we're at that age, I was 20. And I worked from the age of 20 to 22. So that's like a really pivotal point in time where you're soaking up a bunch of information without even really understanding that that's what you're doing, you know?
Fully, man. Yeah, like if the right type of kids. I know some heads, but like, yeah, I was one of those heads too. Like when I was 20, 22, it was like, you live it, dude. And I think any professional artist that has some cat who comes up that's like, I mean, for real, like totally into what they're doing and gets it and really is, you know, not annoying about it. Because I've had kids hit me up too that I'm just like, ugh, like, you know, but like,
sure.
Again, like with Logan, I hit him up on the interwebs back in the day, and yeah, dude, returned every email I sent him. We did art trades, like got to get to know him on things. You know, I think I even sent him some stuff before I would even cut it and be like, dude, what do you think? And like, you know, I don't think I physically met that dude in the flesh until, you know, years later. But yeah, you're right, dude. I think that's such a huge, I mean, you learn so much from those people, dude. It's because they've already done it. They've already tried the things. They already know pretty much kind of what's going to work and how the world will, you know, there's a difference between just being a part-time artist and a serious artist. And I think when you know, sometimes I've met artists that I've hit up that, you know, whatever, they don't respond. But, you know, most of the time I think you're right. I mean, if you try to approach these people, you know, especially in our movement, most of the people are hella cool, man. And they're always down to talk about it, you know?
Sure. I think it seems like sometimes that in our culture that there's like a level of secrecy that sometimes people don't want to like give away their stuff. But the more I talk to artists, like, we're all the same people, so it's interesting to find out that there's this group of people all over the world that goes through some of the same emotions, or has some of the same day-to-day struggles. It's comforting almost.
And it's also the same challenges in every city too. Like, you think you have a certain problem in your city, you're like, dude, we have the same problem in our city, or whatever. I mean, it's like, yeah, and totally the same. Like, but this movement. Like, I have my art, homies in town in St. Louis, people I roll with, but then I also have, like, my art homies who are all across the world, man, and it's weird, like, the different relationship between the people who are here in St. Louis and the relationship I have with the artists all over the world, and it's like, and it's almost like, I don't know, because you see the people here day to day, and I'm sure there's people you see in San Diego day to day, but then when you see your people at, like, a live painting event up in New York, and you guys are all painting together, and you're like, dude, what's up? It's just like, it's the craziest energy, and it's the most wonderful, fun, and I think that's why a lot of us just go and paint for the hell of it, like, we go to these painting events and just rock walls together, and it's just like the realest stuff ever, man. It's the realest, I love it,
Yeah, when did you take your stuff out to the streets from the indoors? Obviously, you learned how to do the stenciling. I would assume you had to learn how to do stenciling before you could take it out to the streets, because it's not an easy practice.
I think but it kind of all came at the same time. Like, there was this dumpster in my alley on the south side that I would just, anytime I got a stencil. I mean, the nice thing with the stencil, you put 80 hours into cutting and designing the stencil, but once it's ready to roll, I usually hit the canvas first. I'd hit it, actually started on plexiglass and glass were the first surfaces I started spraying on. But once you paint that, you're like, oh, well, dude, I can hit up that dumpster pretty easily too. And I think that's where it kind of grows. And then, you start putting some stuff up, in other cities or other places. And me personally, like, yeah, I love painting a gallery piece, but when you put that piece when you put a stencil up on the street and then take a photograph of that street with, like, some rusty drips behind it and, like, some just distressed rawness, like, dude, there's nothing like stencil sprayed on the street versus sprayed in the gallery. And it's just like, I think that's kind of where it grew for me. It was just like, I kind of like just doing it more on the street, even though, like, the risks involved, or the, obviously
is that part of it?
Much to put it on the street, but, from starting to put stuff on the street, I think people started seeing my work. And then I got it. I think my first commission, I got this electrical box where I painted this painting of my baby, like my son when he was a baby. And, like, I think from there on, man, it just kind of popped,
Yeah, I remember when you put that video out. I've painted your babies too.
Yes, you have, man. You told when I had 2. I have 3 boys now. If people don't know, I have 3 boys, and yeah, man, that's right. And they look like gangsters, dude.
Yeah, it's so
funny.
They
look hilarious. Yeah, actually, no, some other dude did. I think his name was Sal Paradise. I don't think you painted it.
Yeah, that's my wild Irish cousin.
Word, he started it all out for you, didn't he?
Well, he made an appearance for a while. Yeah. I think I got an email from him the other day.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, saying he's out of jail or something. I don't know.
Killer, man. Well, you probably need the help these days. You can probably put him to work.
That's what I'm thinking. Just hire him on as an intern.
And put all this stuff on eBay, Just put it on eBay. Do you think people sell art? I know, like that was kind of a big spot for a while, or a good jumping ground for a lot of artists. But do you think anyone buys art off of eBay anymore?
Yeah. They do. Actually, I have a buddy who has been buying a bunch of, like, comic book illustrations, not from, like, actual comic books, but from artists who are, like, comic-based, who are doing things, but they're doing, like, like 12 by 18 drawings, or, like, they're selling some of their, like, big drawings that are half-inked, and, like, they're making they're making some decent money, too.
Huh. Because, yeah, I mean, I used to do that back in the day, too. And I think that's really honestly where I discovered a lot of your stuff was through that avenue. Honestly, I think that's exactly where I think I discovered your stuff around 2001, 2002.
Yeah, sure.
Was through that,
dude. I survived off of that shit.
You were a hustler on that stuff, man. I couldn't believe. And what was that one art collective too? There was like.
It was AOA.
Yes, that's right. Is that around, or is that?
I think so. I think those guys are still doing their thing. Some of those guys still post on eBay, I think.
No, man, you could. I mean, there were pieces on there for $20, dude. I was like, damn, son, like it was crazy. Like some of the, I mean, but yeah, dude, that was some hustling times right there for real. You know,
I think I made more money back then than I do now.
Really? Just because of the volume of stuff that you would put out.
Yeah, and I was able, you know. Obviously, my work takes much longer these days to create, but back then I could finish pieces in a few hours and have them up and sold within the day. You know, it was crazy.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. And you got your ripping skills together too, I'm sure. You know, like
oh man, I would love to just put all of that old bullshit to rest because there's a lot of badness out there. But
I bet, I bet.
I got my hour. I definitely put my hours in, and that moment in time was like, hey, I could make a living off of making art, which is what I wanted to do anyway. You know, like I was doing shitty jobs, like graphic design stuff for magazines that were fucking whack, and I worked in a tattoo shop for a while, and that was like just devastating. All I wanted to do was be in the studio painting, and then so I did it, and it worked, and I gained a total sense of freedom at that moment. And I've been running with it.
People saw your work too, man. Like, you know, that's like I said, that was the way I first saw your pieces. I think was on that. Now that I think about it, so
yeah. But then I had to get legit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's some sort of non-legitness.
We all do, though, man. I think every artist, if you want to be serious, you got to get legit. You know, and I know a lot of people diss on whatever, like, oh, dude, you're selling out. But it's like, I mean, my reality is I got a mortgage, I got 3 kids, and I got to pay bills. You know, and you know, I worked at NBC up until December, and they laid me off when I got back from Art Basel. And ever since then, I've been a full-time artist. I mean, this is new for me. I've only been a full-time artist probably since December. And it's before that, I've always kind of I was doing banner ads, like flash ads for about since I've been in St. Louis, pretty much. I've always kind of had that part-time gig, which in my world, it was nice for real, because when I was slow, I could get up on Facebook, I could get up on Twitter, I could get up on Stencil Revolution back in the day and get all that kind of like, whatever you call it, social networking or whatever, kind of out of the way. But now that I'm a full-time artist, dude, I have no time for any of that stuff. I mean, I'm rarely on those things anymore, dude.
Yeah.
And I mean, because it's reality. Like, I really haven't. I mean, these past 6 months, I've been doing a ton of art, but it's been a ton of commission stuff. You know, it's been a ton of murals for people. Like, it's been a ton of like doing portraits, and which is great, and the money's been pretty good so far. I mean, but it's just, man, this full-time artist world is crazy, dude. Like, have you been a full-time artist for a while? I guess, or
almost 10 years.
That's what's up, man. That's the realness. Yeah. I mean, if I didn't have kids and a mortgage and all that, it'd probably be a little bit different story. But, you know, I probably would have made the jump sooner. But for the past 9 years, I've been kind of still holding down that, like, day gig.
Yeah.
Not the commercial art as much, but more like the web stuff, which I think is a little bit different. But enough to, like, help me establish myself as an artist. So, like, when I finally did make that jump, you know, I was good and ready, and people knew my work, you know. So it was kind of a, you know, blessing in disguise, or whatever you want to call it, man. But, you know, I think it's about time now.
If I had the babies, it would be a totally different world and story, I'm sure.
And it is for it. I mean, and no one really even realize that until they have it, you know, or if they have it, you know, like, you know, I was talking to Logan, he's got a son now, and he was, you know, it's just the same kind of conversations. It's like, you know, once you have that mouth to feed, you're like, that kid's not eating ramen noodles, you know, like, if it's just me, man, I'll eat anything, you know, like, but yeah, when it's my family or my boys or my wife, like, I gotta make it happen, man, for sure.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned just getting out of doing the commercial work and how that's been a thing for a while. You You did a funny ass Mountain Dew commercial. I guess. Would
Yeah,
you say,
you like that? That was kind of commercial though. Yeah.
But hey,
But
like you
cool.
said, like we gotta feed our babies, right?
I mean, you got that, and that's like a borderline kind of thing too. Like that, they came to me because I don't know if the listeners know or not, but I do a lot of these stencil videos. Like the baby one I talked about, the painting like the electrical box was the first one I ever did, and that was prior to YouTube, prior to any of these Vimeo or any of these video sites. So I was kind of already doing a lot of these videos, and by the time YouTube did come out, I had 4 videos, like 4 stencil videos. That, you know, at that time, dude, I got crazy traffic, dude. Like, it was nuts. Like, how, you know, I'd put a video out on a Friday, and by Monday, there'd be, like, 20,000 people who had seen that video. And it's just like, you know, so, yeah, I started doing a bunch of those. And, yeah, Mountain Dew saw that one of the videos and was like, oh, we'd love for you to do a video and also do a Mountain Dew bottle. And, like, I was like, man, I love Mountain Dew. I'm a Dew, like, that's what I drink. So, like, you know, I'll do something. And I was like, you know, the original plan for that, I wanted to do a rap video. And I was going to be this guy called, like, I don't know, like the hip hop hillbilly or something you want to call it. Like, because their original mascot was a hillbilly, but I kind of wanted to do, like, a modern day version of it. And, like, at that time, like, I think Dave Chappelle was doing that, like, Little John and the Little John, like, bit, you know, and I was like, that'd be kind of funny to kind of do like a white dude version of that, kind of like a hillbilly Little John, like Little John meets NASCAR kind of thing. And I had this whole character developed, and it was hilarious. Actually, hold on, I think I have a photo of it. Hold on. I don't know where it is, but yeah, I mean, I had this whole idea of doing this video, this like. But it was. They thought it was a little bit too controversial. Like, you could have kind of actually offend somebody who probably drinks Mountain Dew that looks just like that dude. I don't know. So we kind of made a more traditional hillbilly kind of thing. But, dude, it was awesome. It was such a good I mean, they made 1 million bottles. They put them all over the country. They, you know, I think I got to do shows in 3 different cities. You know, and they paid for, you know, I did this Luchador Collabo Match show where they paid for all these wrestlers to, like, actual Mexican wrestlers to come out to this spot in San Francisco, and, like, I mean, dude, it was cool, and they were definitely, they got it, and they let me kind of do what the hell I want. I think any artist who works with a corporate identity or whatever and is going to kind of tie their art to that, like, I mean, you know, if Walmart came to me and said, hey, Pete, will you do this campaign with us? You know, they'd get the middle finger, you know, like, it definitely wouldn't happen. But you know what I'm saying? I think there's certain, and believe me, I did get some heads being like, yo, dude, you're selling out. You did a Mountain Dew commercial or whatever. I mean, but it is what it is, man. I mean, you know, definitely, you know, I am in St. Louis. St. Louis is not like the biggest art mecca, but like having something like that can launch you to every 7-Eleven and Quick Trip and all the cities of the United States, dude, you can't beat that, you know.
Sure. And you know what was cool from a viewer's perspective was that it looked like a really natural progression of your work, or like a natural transition rather into that. It wasn't like you were trying to make a fucking Mountain Dew ad. Which, for anybody that doesn't know, Shepard Fairey and Black Market and Dave Kinsey
I do know this.
Did all the Mountain Dew labels and all that shit, like all those cans and all the can designs.
Like prior to the current design, right? Like they did the one. Yeah. I
totally
knew that. Yeah. I was actually, the thing with Shepard too. I mean, he's not another one of those people that has. I mean, he's inspired many people. I mean, I know there's a lot of love-hate with that dude, but I've always had mad love for Shepard Fairey. And you know, my sister actually went to school at RISD when he was there back in like '89.
Yeah.
And she was the one who turned me on to his stuff. She sent me a bunch of his stickers and, you know, really kind of got me, because I've been like, I mean, obviously I'm a huge Keith Haring fan. Like, Keith Haring is, like, to me, the first dude in our movement. Like, he's the first dude, him kind of Basquiat, but I really think, you know, with the whole, you know, kind of doing product and selling stuff and, you know, and then again, Shepard Fairey's the second dude that I think kind of took what, you know, kind of embodied what, you know, Keith Haring did and kind of made his own thing out of it. But just like just those kind of people that have kind of taken that and yes, he does make some money with his art, but he was down at Art Basel painting with everybody else, dude. Probably not even getting paid. Like, I don't know what his scenario is, but like, it's crazy. Like that, there's a lot of people in our field that, they are doing very well for themselves right now, but they're still out there doing it,
Yeah. I would like to go down and paint Miami one of these days. One of these times.
Have you never been down there?
No, I almost went this last year, but I'm always broke around that time.
Well, I mean, for St. Louis, man, it starts getting cold the first week in December, so I'm like, let's go. I'm ready, man.
Yeah, see, I'm living it. Well,
true.
You had mentioned the Mexican wrestler masks. We did some collaborations with you. You put together a big show of a big collab show.
Well, I mean, that kind of spawned from the Mountain Dew bottle. Like, right before that, I had painted this room at the Hotel des Arts in San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
And do you know about that?
Is that place still there?
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of right outside of Chinatown, but they had asked me to do a room there, and I did a Mexican wrestler-themed room. And right around that same time, I got in the Mountain Dew bottle, and they're like, you need to put an art show together in like a month. And I'm like, I have nothing. So I was like, because I just got off this luchador thing, and I had some of those, but I was also kind of like, how can I get a show together? And around that time, the monies were real big, and people were doing a lot of collaborations, and I always love collaborations. And I was like, why don't I cut out these wooden masks, pass them out to artists like you, people that I totally dig, like the work, and see if they'd want to hit some stuff up. So yeah, like I sent one to you, one to Sean Barber, I sent one to Porvis Walker, I sent one to a lot of Daryl Pierce. I sent one to just a gang of artists, a bunch of artists from St. Louis, like Justin Tolentino and
two of the three artists that you mentioned there have been on the show.
Say that?
Two of the three artists that you mentioned there have been on this podcast. Yeah,
Daryl has.
And Sean as well.
Sean Barber's on there?
Yeah.
That guy's mad talented. But, so, basically, I started handing these masks out. They're blank wooden masks. I cut them out. They're probably, you got one of the big ones. I made a few large ones. You did one of the large ones. I remember that.
Yeah.
And so artists would paint in the background, then they'd mail them back to me, and I'd stencil in the eyes, nose, and mouth. And then, it was called Luchador Collabo Mask. And, man, it just, so I did the San Francisco show and then the St. Louis show, and then I started getting emails from people like, dude, let's do a Collabo Mask show in my town. Like, we did one in Melbourne, Australia. We did one in Miami, one in Orlando. Like, recently, for Cinco de Mayo, I was supposed to do one up in Portland, but it was just like, it's such a big, I'm so over it by now. I think I've collaborated with about 150 artists, doing Mexican wrestler masks. And yeah, it all started because of this Mountain Dew thing. They were like, you need to get some stuff together. And which was nice because they paid for all the shipping. They paid for all the materials, like the shipping's the expensive part because I got to cut it out, mail it, and then you guys paint it, and then you ship, and I got to ship it back, and then paint it, and then ship it again to wherever the show is. So it just gets ridiculous.
Yeah.
But like even with the Melbourne show, like I thought about, well, how the hell am I going to do this in Melbourne, Australia? Well, through Stencil Revolution, I got to be friends with a lot of artists down there, and I don't know if you guys, the Everfresh crew down there, or Everfresh guys like Megs, Roan, Phibbs. Do you know any of those guys?
No,
It's amazing. Some of the best stuff happening right now in the world is done by the Everfresh guys. I mean, these guys are a crew of the most talented. They're definitely not graph artists. They're definitely not. I mean, they definitely do a lot of street art stuff. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is I went ahead and found somebody over there to cut them for me. I literally sent them an Illustrator file. They cut them out of wood. My boys at Everfresh primed them all, passed them out to their friends in Melbourne, Australia. When I flew with a bunch of stencils, I landed, and for about 4 or 5 days, I painted all the Collabo masks, and then we did the show. I mean, It was kick-ass, dude.
That's wild. And you have to kind of figure out things like that for doing shows overseas, right? Like, it's a whole different monster.
It would have been $1,000 to ship them there. I mean, it would have been and that one was on my own. I didn't have Mountain Dew in Australia helping me out. That was a whole, I mean, I think I got a couple sponsors there, but yeah, dude, it's like, and people don't realize either, like, oh, you got a sponsor, bro. You're like, well, dude, it's, you're never guaranteed a sale on anything, and it's like, sometimes you got to have some kind of backing to make fun things and cool things happen.
I need to start getting some paid sponsors for this show.
Yes, you do.
I've had a lot of support from local businesses, but I need some people to start forking out some dough.
Yeah, I saw you giving out like some Wu-Tang tickets or something on one of the, I was listening to one of the podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, word, son.
Yeah.
That's rad, man.
We were talking about Keith Haring. You got the Keith Haring shirt on, and Shepherd Ferry too. I just went and saw the Art in the Streets exhibition.
Yeah, how was that?
It was pretty rad. They had the big Keith Haring painted car.
Where did that come from? I'm a fanboy, dude. Like, I follow his stuff like crazy. I have never seen that car before. Like, did he come from the grave and paint that? Like,
do you think somebody painted it?
You know what I think would happen? Somebody painted for him back in the day, and I mean it's in great condition too. Isn't
Perfect
it? Like,
condition. Perfect.
Like freshly painted. Like I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything, but I can reproduce a pretty good Keith Haring. I would never,
Yeah.
But that was weird to me. I saw that, and I was totally stoked to see it. I was like, wow, this is a sweet ride. I mean, the only thing I can think of is, he painted it for somebody, some collector, and the dude kept it in his garage since the 80s. Or maybe it's Jeffrey Deitch's. I don't know. Like, did it say anything about whose vehicle that was or where that came from?
I just looked at the car. I didn't see any of the any placards around. Like, the way it was set up, it was right by one of Mr. Cartoon's, right by his ice cream truck thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So, dude, somebody could have easily recreated it. But, again, it could have been one of those things where, like, somebody asked him in the 80s to paint their car, and they just had it wrapped up in a garage somewhere, some weird car art collector or something,
I mean, I know, like, one of the last things Keith ever painted before he died was a BMW over in, like, I think he died, I think, in March of 1990, and he painted this thing in, like, February. And it's this bright red, like really sport. It may be a Porsche or something, like a real sporty looking, Beamer or something. But man, like I've not seen many cars. I haven't seen him paint many cars. I know he did like a semi once, but like that thing blew me away. Like,
and it's not.
Like, I almost would travel out there just to see that piece, man. Like.
It's not like painted over the top of a car's paint job either. Or it's like there's a white, like that white coat, and then it's painted over, and then it seems like it has like a clear coat, or like how a painted car looks, like that.
They planned on him. Yeah, they probably primed it, put a white, had him paint it, and then gave it 30 coats of clear on top of it or whatever.
Yeah. So it's a serious thing, and they also have a number of his pieces in frames that almost like they look like the old chalkboards.
Those are real. Those are totally. I mean, I think they're all real. Yeah, that's legit. That's legit.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of those. Some of them I haven't. I mean, I'm a crazy fanboy, dude. Like, I can't even tell you how much. Like, I don't know if you have a favorite artist, but like, I can look at that dude's stuff all day long. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, just something about his work just totally intrigues me, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, and how he cracked, dude. Like, that dude, like, was seriously, kind of started around 81 and he died in 90. Like, and dude, the guy went from, like, just boom and produced, like, and that's why when you're like, when I see a car like that, I'm like, when the hell did that dude have time to paint that? Like, that's what blows me away. It's like that guy it just came out of him, because I'm so planned in everything I create. Like, all my stencils, all my art is so planned out. Like, I don't really crack much at all, and that's really a hard thing for me to do. And to see someone like Keith Haring who can it just falls out of his arm, like, I guess it's just what blows me away about the dude,
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I suggest that everybody go check out that show if you're anywhere near Los Angeles. It's pretty interesting. There's the street market portion was probably my favorite thing that Reese Espo and Twist did they did the street market show at Deitch Projects in New York.
Right.
I guess 99, 2000 something,
yeah.
maybe around there. And so they did a new one at the museum.
Got it. Yeah, I remember seeing those images. Actually, you know what's funny? The Espo did some cathedral the cathedral windows that were there. Do you remember those? Do you remember seeing like the cathedral windows?
Yeah, those were there.
He did those in St. Louis.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he had a show here at White Flags Projects, I guess about, I don't know, 2 years ago, and those were from that show. Which I was like, when I was flipping through the photos, I was like, oh shit, man, he totally, he added a lot to the other stuff around it, but those cathedral windows he actually painted here.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff. It was cool. They took over like the very back corner of the museum where it looked like there's like these weird offices and like the fucking strangest shit back there. But
I almost want to go out there just for that though, man. Like I know it'd be one of those shows that I'm like, why didn't I go down to see? I mean, I don't travel to see mini shows, but that would be one that like I think it's up till August too, isn't it? It's up for a little. Yeah,
it's up all summer, and the Oceamios section is pretty fantastic too, and Margaret Kilgallen. Like I went up there with my buddy who wasn't familiar with her work, and I stopped and I was like, look at all of this right now because you're not going to see it again in a room filled with this work again. You're not going to see it.
Ever.
So much stuff, and I'm kind of a fanboy for her. And
I can see that.
There was a bunch of stuff in there that I had never seen before, like that same type of thing, like little paintings that are on the corners of things that are just hilarious and comical and like sincere and interesting. Like her section was really, really rad. But the Oceamios section, they had a drum setup and a bass guitar and a guitar that anyone could play and a little piano.
What? You would play it?
Yeah, anyone who's in the museum coming through could sit down. So when I was in there was kids playing the drums and the piano, and I got on the bass, and I don't know how to play the bass, but I just slapped around like Jerry Seinfeld opening.
Yeah, that's great, man. Nice.
Yeah, it was fucking rad. And then they have a lot of they fill up the whole wall, so there's a lot of little intricate details of stuff that you wouldn't see online, because there's so much online available, but without being able to see those little handmade details and little things, you don't really get a full perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to go see it. That's definitely one of those things that I just need to... I mean, I even have a show in LA on Friday night, and I was kind of like, I don't know, a week ago going, I gotta go, but I actually have to go up to New York on Sunday, so I was just like, I don't know.
Coast to coast.
So,
well, let's. I've been plugging your stuff on my Facebook and Twitters the last couple days, but let's get your stuff out there for the podcast listeners and the new streamers. What your website and maybe your Twitters and Facebooks and all that fun stuff.
For sure. My website's Stensoul, like stencil, but it's like soul at the end, like STENSOUL.com, and. And that kind of goes along with who I am. Like I do a lot of eyes. Like my work is kind of eye focused, and I believe like the eye is the window to everyone's soul. And that's kind of how I came up with the Stencil. So yeah, Stensoul.com. It's a little bit out. I mean, it's basically like a glorified blog right now. And then Twitter's, I'm at Stencil on Twitter. And what else? I'm trying to think. I'm on Vimeo. There's a ton of my videos up on there. I think it's vimeo.com/Stencil. So yeah, just search Stencil in Google. You'll find a lot of stuff to peep out. And like I said, I got a show with Ad Hoc Gallery on Friday night with a bunch of really talented heads. It's kind of a mix of like dream and nightmares. It's kind of like I don't know. It's like a Friday the 13th kind of thing. I guess this Friday's Friday the 13th, but good mix of like heads that I've worked with over the years and new heads. I think like, do you know who the Ad Hoc people are? Yeah. Yeah. The Buxtons, they're phenomenal people. They've connected a lot of dots, but just a couple heads in the show like Chore Boogie, Chris Dane, Dabs Mila, Daryl Pierce. Garrison Buxton, I think Lady Pink, Michael DeFeo, and then a couple of like just up and comers. So it should be a fun show. So if you know any listeners are on the LA area, it's at New Puppy Gallery, which is on Elm Street. It's 2808 Elm Street.
Are you gonna dress up as Freddy Krueger?
I got actually.
You kind of got the Freddy Krueger hat
on. I put 2 pieces in there. I've been doing these like wood cutouts lately, kind of along the lines of the Collabo mask, but like multiple layers of wood, kind of like put together, and then like in the eye areas, I've been filling them with like bar tops. So I got 2 of those pieces, and then 2 small little pieces in there. So
nice.
And then I've actually got a pretty exciting project that I'm working on right now. I'm doing this backboard for the NBA, and they're going to do – there was actually – the first show was out in Miami this December. It's called The Art of Basketball, and, you know, had backboards made by, you know, like Cope did one, Christine did one, Joe Arado did one. But they're kind of fun. They're actual real NBA backboards. They're huge, man. Like these things are like you never even think of a backboard being this massive, but like Logan Hicks was in town and he actually drove mine down from New York, and I mean he pulled it out of the minivan and I'm like, dude, this thing's like I mean it was like a you know I mean it's huge, 300 pounds. So I've been I was just painting that today, and they asked me if I'd do a Steve Nash. I'm not really a basketball guy, so I'm doing a portrait of Steve Nash with like some eyes behind it. It's going to be called All Eyes on Steve. I'm pretty happy with it. Turned out pretty fresh, you know.
Nice.
And then I've been helping Logan Hicks get ready for his show at Opera Gallery. He's got a major exhibition there on June 2nd that's going to be ridiculous. I mean, that dude is going to be taking the stencil art form to the next level, and I've been really honored to be able to help him out with the show and you know, get things together for him. It's gonna be nuts, man. Do you know much about Opera Gallery at all?
I don't, but I did get to see some of the. I saw some aluminum pieces that Logan was working on that are crazy looking.
Dude, ridiculous. I mean, he's taking it to the next level, man. Yes, like I don't know how much I can talk about it, but if you saw some stuff online, then I'm guessing he's putting it out there. But yeah, he's got some nutty stuff happening, man. It's going to be a really cool show, man.
Rad.
So.
Well, thanks again, my friend, for taking the time to shoot the shit with me. I appreciate it.
Most def, Mike, and hopefully we'll meet in the flesh one day and we can do a high five or whatever, man.
Yeah, sooner or later. Let's do internet daps. Even though you can't see me, I'm putting my knuckles up to the screen.
Woo, what's that sound? Actually, I'll give you one of these.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, son. Word.
Nice. All right, brother.
It was great chatting, man.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
Peace.
All right, late.